Hello, my name is Henry Emphrey, and this is an AppGameKit 3D game development tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do 3D collisions with animated characters inside of AppGameKit. Now, throughout this tutorial, you can feel free to read the comments that I wrote. The comments comes after these two slashes and are written in gray on the screen. So through the course of this tutorial, feel free to read the comments to get an idea of what exactly things do and why I wrote certain things into this program. So here are the comments, and you can stop the video as needed. And I'm just going to briefly go through some of these things before getting to the collision part. So first thing I did was just set up my window. The screen size, gave the screen title and all that stuff. This next part has to do with the main character, Henry. Well, and whenever you see this one in these first columns right here, it just refers to the main character, Henry. That is, instead of writing Henry, I wrote 1, because that's kind of the way things are done in AppGameKit. This is a red wall that Henry's going to run into. And down here, this is a box that will be behind Henry. And this is a box that Henry will be running. Next, I set up my camera. I made it so the camera follows the player and is behind the player and all that stuff. Here's the collision stuff. Now, the way the collision works in AppGameKit, at least in the way this is made, this does what's called ray casting. It takes the player's old position right here, and then it gets the player's new position. The second thing, I set this object hit variable. It could also be called collisions. I could have just wrote collisions here too. Object hit, collision, same thing. And then I set it to this function. 0 means anytime you collide with anything, it's a collision or object hit. And I just put my player's old XYZ coordinates into these parameters here, and then I did the same thing with the player's new XYZ coordinates and put them into these parameters right here. And then I took my player's collision radius. See, when the player collides, it won't actually be the player or Henry or the model colliding with the walls or box, but it will actually be this sphere or circle that will give the illusion of the player colliding. So I just set up a radius right here and then added it into this parameter down here. So whenever the player collides or object hits, the player will move backwards and you will get a message in the left hand corner that says collided. Otherwise, else means otherwise, you have a message that says that the player didn't collide. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Next are the controls. I'm using the keyboard controls. You got the up key, down key, right key, and left key. This is what moves the player. And I'm using the comma key. You know how when you write an essay and you type a comma? Well, if you press that button, the player will rotate to the left. And same thing if you type a period or if you press the period button, as if you're trying to put a period at the end of a sentence when you write an essay. If you press that button, the player will rotate to the right. Whenever one of those keys are pressed, the player animation will play. I don't know why it works kind of backwards like this, but because the way it's written, it says if you press one of the keyboard arrow keys, it'll move the player. Otherwise, else means otherwise, play the walk animation. Well, to me, that kind of sounds backwards, but I guess that's the way it works. Maybe it has to do with my limited programming knowledge as to me not knowing why it works that way. So, but anyway, that's the way it works. So, and then next, you got to synchronize the SYNC so you can see everything on screen. And this is the end of the loop. Okay, so after all is said and done, let's go ahead and run this example so you can see what it does. Okay, so let's resize this. So when it's all said and done, this is what everything looks like. And as you can see in this left corner, the player hasn't collided with the wall yet. But if I press the up arrow key and start moving forward, and it will say that the player collided. Good. So that collision was successful. Now, as you know, there's a box right behind them. So if we keep moving backwards and press the down arrow key, for now, the player hasn't collided with the box behind him yet. But if we keep going, boom, he collided with the box too. Okay, so this is just a good example of how to do basic collisions in AppGameKit. You can feel free to take what you learned in this tutorial and expand on it and use it as a supplement with other tutorials on the web. Until next time, thanks. Bye.